In a move that stunned the world, Ukrainian forces stormed into Russia, catching many by surprise. Their target, the strategically significant Kursk region. This daring offensive marks a turning point in the relentless conflict, a bold statement of defiance. After more than 2 years on the defensive, Ukraine took the fight to the enemy, shifting the dynamics of the war. The world watched, holding its breath as the events unfolded. The invasion began in early August under the cover of dawn. Ukrainian troops, battle-hardened and determined, pushed deep into Russian territory, showing remarkable resolve. They quickly captured towns and villages along the border, raising the Ukrainian flag in victory. This was a major shift in the war, altering the strategic landscape. Ukraine's message was clear: they would not be broken, no matter the odds. The attack sent shockwaves through the international community. Some praised Ukraine's bravery and determination. Others worried about a wider conflict, fearing the repercussions. Russia, caught off guard, scrambled to respond, holding emergency meetings. One thing was certain: the war had entered a dangerous new phase with higher stakes. The offensive is a testament to Ukraine's resilience and unyielding spirit. It also highlights the crucial support they have received from the West, including military aid and strategic advice. Training, weapons, and intelligence have all played a role in Ukraine's battlefield successes, showcasing the importance of international alliances. As the fighting rages on, the world waits to see what impact this bold move will have and how it will shape the future of this conflict. The Ukrainian invasion of Kursk has shattered the illusion of normalcy for Russian citizens living near the border. Life, once peaceful and predictable, has been upended by the realities of war. Fear and uncertainty hang in the air. Journalists braving the chaos have managed to reach the affected areas. Their reports paint a grim picture. Buildings lie in ruins, streets are scarred by shelling. The once familiar landscape is now alien and threatening. Russian civilians interviewed near the front lines express shock and disbelief. Many feel abandoned by their government. They had believed the Kremlin's propaganda that the war was far away. Now the conflict is on their doorsteps. The stories emerging from Kursk serve as a stark reminder. War is brutal. It leaves behind a trail of destruction, both physical and psychological. The human cost of this conflict continues to mount with each passing day. Ukraine's decision to strike inside Russia was no accident. It was a calculated gamble, driven by both strategic and symbolic considerations. By taking the offensive, Ukraine aims to disrupt Russia's war machine and bolster its own morale. Militarily, the invasion of Kursk serves several purposes. It forces Russia to divert troops and resources from other fronts. This relieves pressure on Ukrainian forces battling in the east. It also disrupts Russian supply lines, making it harder for them to sustain their offensive operations. The symbolic importance of the invasion is undeniable. By striking inside Russia, Ukraine sends a powerful message to both its own people and the world. It demonstrates their resolve. It shows that they will not be intimidated. The success of the offensive thus far has been a much-needed morale boost for Ukraine. It has also raised serious questions about Russia's military capabilities. The Kremlin's narrative of a swift and decisive victory has been shattered. The Ukrainian invasion of Kursk has shaken the Russian government to its core. This brazen attack, once unthinkable, has exposed vulnerabilities in Russia's defenses and fueled anxieties within the Kremlin. Russia's initial response was one of shock and disbelief. The Kremlin had dismissed the possibility of a Ukrainian incursion into Russian territory as ludicrous. Now they were forced to confront the reality of their miscalculation. The Russian military, caught off guard, scrambled to react. Reinforcements were rushed to the border. Artillery and airstrikes targeted Ukrainian positions, but the damage had been done. The aura of Russian military might had been tarnished. The invasion of Kursk has posed a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin's authority. It has exposed the weaknesses of his military and undermined his claims of Russia's strength. The Kremlin's propaganda machine is working overtime to control the narrative, but doubts are creeping in. Section 5, the nuclear shadow looms. As the conflict in Ukraine intensifies, a chilling specter haunts the world stage, the threat of nuclear war. The ongoing battles have not only devastated cities and displaced millions, but have also brought the unthinkable closer to reality. Russia, facing setbacks on the battlefield, has repeatedly raised the possibility of using its nuclear arsenal. This alarming stance has escalated tensions and raised the stakes to unprecedented levels. This dangerous rhetoric has sent shivers down the spines of world leaders. The mere mention of nuclear weapons has a profound psychological impact, creating an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. The Kremlin's nuclear saber-rattling is widely seen as an attempt to intimidate the West and deter further support for Ukraine. By brandishing its nuclear capabilities, Russia aims to project power and influence on the global stage. It is a desperate gamble by a regime that is increasingly isolated and facing mounting pressure. The internal dissent and economic sanctions have only added to the Kremlin's woes. Adding to the anxiety is the recent alleged attack on the Kursk nuclear power plant. Such incidents underscore the fragility of nuclear infrastructure in conflict zones. While the details remain murky, the incident highlights the vulnerability of nuclear facilities in times of war. The potential for a catastrophic event looms large. A nuclear accident, whether intentional or accidental, would have catastrophic consequences. The fallout would not be confined to the immediate area, but would have far-reaching effects on the environment and human health. The international community has condemned Russia's nuclear threats in the strongest possible terms. Diplomatic efforts are underway to de-escalate the situation and prevent a nuclear disaster. The use of nuclear weapons would be a global catastrophe, resulting in unimaginable death and destruction. The humanitarian crisis that would follow is beyond comprehension. The stakes in this conflict could not be higher. The world watches with bated breath, hoping for a resolution that avoids the unthinkable. Section 6. A world on edge: global reactions. The Ukrainian invasion of Kursk has sent shockwaves through the international community, causing widespread concern and uncertainty. Governments around the world are grappling with the implications of this dramatic escalation in the conflict, trying to navigate the complex geopolitical landscape. The situation remains fluid and unpredictable, with new developments unfolding rapidly. Western allies, led by the United States, have condemned Russia's aggression and pledged continued support for Ukraine. Military aid, financial assistance, and humanitarian relief are all flowing into Ukraine, aiming to bolster its defenses and support its citizens. But the West is also wary of getting drawn into a wider conflict with Russia, mindful of the potential for a broader confrontation. The United Nations has called for a ceasefire and a negotiated settlement to the conflict, urging all parties to come to the table. But the UN Security Council, deeply divided, has been unable to agree on any meaningful action, reflecting the complexities of international diplomacy. Russia, as a permanent member, holds veto power, effectively blocking any resolution that goes against its interests, further complicating the situation. The invasion of Kursk has exposed the limitations of the international system in dealing with a crisis of this magnitude, highlighting the need for reform. It has also highlighted the deep divisions within the international community, with differing perspectives on how to address the conflict. The world watches anxiously as the conflict unfolds, hoping for a peaceful resolution but bracing for the possibility of further escalation, aware of the high stakes involved. Section 7. The unseen toll: human cost and suffering. Behind the headlines and the geopolitical maneuvering lies a human tragedy of immense proportions. The war in Ukraine has already claimed the lives of tens of thousands of people. Millions more have been displaced from their homes, their lives shattered by the violence. The invasion of Kursk has only added to the suffering. Civilians caught in the crossfire are paying the ultimate price. Homes have been destroyed. Families have been torn apart. The physical and psychological scars of this conflict will linger for generations. The humanitarian situation in Ukraine is dire. Food, water, and medical supplies are running low in many areas. The approaching winter threatens to exacerbate the crisis as temperatures plummet and living conditions deteriorate. The international community has mobilized to provide aid to those affected by the war, but the needs are overwhelming and the challenges are immense. The human cost of this conflict continues to mount with each passing day. Section 8, an uncertain horizon: what lies ahead. The Ukrainian invasion of Kursk has injected a new level of uncertainty into the already volatile situation in Eastern Europe. The conflict, once confined to Ukraine's borders, has now spilled over into Russia. The potential for further escalation is real and dangerous. Whether Ukraine can hold its ground